That was a rousing take of our intro song by the Honey Tickles. I'm glad that they could show up and take care of us this week.
Delightful.
If you haven't noticed, my voice is more delicious this episode. That's because I finally picked up a nicer microphone.
It's sounding very nice.
I can get all low like this, but I probably won't.
Yeah, you can do your NPR voice and yep, crisp and clean.
Turns out that the post office is a tool of fascism, currently.
Oh boy, when did that come to light?
I don't know. I've just been reading a bunch about the post office and how it's the worst thing ever, I guess.
Yeah, you know, but it just what's it been doing? It's just been sitting there, just being a money pit for all these years. It's not like it's just been, it costs money, but it doesn't even do anything for us. It's not like a service or anything.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's not like I completely depend on it to ship my paintings or get my bills or vote or wait a minute.
yeah, what about all those people that
There
get their medicine through the mail? I guess they might need that.
Well, they gotta pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It's just unfortunately that's the state of affairs.
I tried to find bootstraps locally, and you have to get them mailed to you. You
You gotta be
cannot
able
just
to
buy a
afford
bootstrap.
boots first.
Yeah, and then the straps ain't cheap. Like it's just starting off difficult.
Absolutely. So what's your last week been like?
It's been somewhat normal actually. Actually
Mm-hmm.
had some gigs. That's been a while since I've had those, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been nice.
I another sign of the times, I suppose, a little bit. And I'll start this off by saying, anybody listening, always renew your identifications as early as possible. Because I have an expired driver's license from Utah. It expired when I lived up in Seattle about 5 years ago. And I didn't own a
hmm
car or anything. So I was like, can't be that big of a deal to renew your driver's license. I'll just, whatever. Turns out,
Oh,
if you let it expire for over a year, then you got to go through the whole process again. So that's a whole other issue, and I don't even own a car still. So what can you do? I'll just do that eventually. So I would walk around with my passport as my ID, and
hmm
I was like, no way, I'm gonna let that expire. And then January rolls around. I have about 5 months left to get it renewed, and I'm like, okay, now's about the time to start looking into getting a new passport. And then COVID happens, everything shuts down. You go to research how to renew your passport, it says, don't even bother. Like,
oh damn.
don't try to worry about that right now because it ain't happening anytime soon. I call up the DMV, they were shut down for a while. They open, but then for getting a new state ID, which is what I was going for, I had to wait 2 months to be able to do that. So I scheduled the appointment. It was yesterday. I finally got a brand new ID. I'm 21 years old again.
Yeah,
So
living
we went
high.
out to get some food and like order a drink just to feel like an adult again. And we had a big tall table that was right next to the bar. So you still can't sit at the bar, but you can sit by the bar.
Oh, real close.
Yeah,
Did
so I
they
was like,
ID
this
you?
is. They did,
That's good.
and they didn't even flinch that it was like one of those temporary ones. So, yeah, it was just one of those moments where it's like, this feels a little more normal.
Nice. Yeah, that's good to get back to that. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, if you think you have 5 months to do something, just remember some lab in China can create a virus and it'll ruin everything.
Yep, everything is taking a lot longer right now. All that stuff. See, I
Hmm.
have to keep up on my driver's license, and I also have my amateur radio license. And that goes out every 10 years, so I have to like
Mm.
remember that. And I don't know where my passport is at. It probably is getting close. I need to keep up
So,
on that. So many things to renew.
tell me more about this amateur radio thing. I haven't heard of that.
Oh, so it's a program been around for a long time. Yeah. Basically, like the walkie-talkies you can like buy at Walmart.
Yeah.
So that's a certain section of the radio band that's allowed for that, like civilian use, but it's really low power. Like those walkie-talkies don't put out much. So if you want to put out more power, you have to get a license. You have to go take a test. So my dad's done
Interesting.
it his whole life, so he got me and my brothers into it. So we all have our amateur radio license. So you get a call sign and you learn you know, how antennas work and what bands you can use, how much power on, and how to properly talk on their air, call people and identify yourself 10
Yeah.
minutes, every 10 minutes, stuff like that. So it's just it's like they use it for a lot of bike rides and marathons. They use it for the communication. They'll have the local ham operators come out and help them run the race or whatever the event is. So
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I remember your dad's one room. It's been a while since I've seen it, but there's like a lot of cool old school radios and all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah, a lot of those are used for amateur radio stuff. So a lot of them are
Yeah,
just old receivers, old ones, people used to gather around, listen to
that's
the
cool.
nightly radio shows.
FDR giving his fireside chats.
Exactly. Which that's kind of what I feel like podcasting is filling that thing now. It's nice to just sit down and listen to somebody chat.
Absolutely. I feel like with this show, we said it on the first episode, I think, but I was like, why would we just add to the heap of more shows? But honestly, it's just for the sake of variety. There's some podcasts I love, but it'll combine two people, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to even bother with that one. But then they'll put out another episode, and it'll be like, wow, what a combination of people. I'll listen to that one. Or it's just a podcast I love, and it's always going over the same grounds that I like to go over.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely know there's times when we'll be sitting gaming. It'll be you, some of our buddies like Dan, Neil, and Shockey, and we'll be chatting, maybe tossing a couple back and just having a good time. And then I'm like, all right, it's time to go to bed. And what I'm really doing is going down to my room and like maybe having one last nightcap and start a podcast.
Exactly.
And what's different about that is I don't have to participate at all, which I love. Like, I love to be in a conversation, and I love knowing that I don't have to participate. Like, maybe that's the introvert in me, but yeah, there's some times where it's just being in a situation where you might have to react to something that's like socially taxing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that's probably why a lot of people enjoy them so much.
Yep.
And I enjoy the conversational ones. I enjoy the edutainment podcasts, but they all kind of have that same vibe, where you're just sitting there listening to people talk about something.
Yeah. And I mean, they're great for painting. I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own way of going about doing painting, but I believe I've mentioned that on this show before. I I'm an artist and paint a bunch. I did the image for our podcast, like that's a self portrait.
Mm.
And I know a bunch of people say I gotta listen to music and get in the mood and light a candle. And I'm just like, nah, I'll just be at my desk and throw on a podcast and it's perfect. If I throw on music, it can sometimes be motivating, but other times I'll just start thinking about the music too much and it'll affect the artwork.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a podcast seems like it would be a good way to go. Not being an artist myself, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Well, everybody can. You just have to start.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried. It's just I don't know. Maybe I just haven't found my medium. Go
Could
medium.
be. Well, I was talking with our mutual buddy Shockey last night, and I can't remember how we got around to it, but we were discussing how a lot of people will send me messages where they're like, I wish I could do art like you do art. Not so much that they want to do my style, but just that they wish they were creating as much as I do.
Uh huh.
And I'm like, well, you can. It's super easy. Just go get some canvas and some markers or paint or whatever and start going. And they're like, well, what if it sucks? And I'm like, it probably will. It's like you got to be
Granted.
okay with that. Like, if you're gonna start something, it's not gonna be awesome right off the bat like that. But keep working on it until it's something you enjoy. But if you're like, that's not perfect, but I really like that, and I don't know what else to do, then go get another canvas and do it again. And
Yeah,
before you know it, you're gonna start knocking it into place, and it'll be pretty cool. Like it's the same thing with picking up an instrument.
that's exactly what I was gonna
Like,
say.
yeah,
That sounds a lot like what I wish most of my students could understand. Uh, just like it's gonna not sound fantastic for quite a while, but it, a lot of the problems people have in music is being too timid and shy, which furthers it not sounding good. Like if you just go for it and like roll over, like just go through the mistakes and just keep playing and keep a steady, like just focus on keeping a steady rhythm, let the notes fall where they may, you'll actually usually come out a lot better than sitting there trying to hit every note perfect and not paying attention to other stuff. Or if you get
mm-hmm.
off, you just train wreck because you're so people get programmed to stop when they make a mistake. So yeah, it's interesting. I didn't ever think about it that way, and there's quite similar.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing I've noticed in music is early on people that are just barely starting out doing like some kind of punk rock song or something. And ironically enough, with the punk rock song, they're worried about playing it wrong.
Yeah,
And they'll be jamming, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute. And then they'll kind of stop and have that 2 or 3 second breath and then switch the chord because they weren't sure. And they're
yeah.
like, you stopped the timing of the whole song, and now anybody who's watching is like taken out of it. If you just play along to the beat and keep it in time, but you're just kind of sloppy, like most people don't notice.
Oh yeah, big time. The musicians might notice, but the crowd most
Yeah.
likely won't. And even then, it's just the rule number one is the beat never stops.
Yeah.
Keep going no matter what happens. That's even what like the best players in the world are telling themselves. And they
I remember
usually don't make many.
yeah, my first band, Nadia Pero, I was pretty brand new at playing bass. And yeah, it was just that main rule. It's like, just keep going. So if you mess up the part, and it's just like, I remember there'd be a lot of sections where it's like, I can't even remember how this riff starts. So there'd be like a lot of sections where I'd kind of like drop out and like wait for the first half of the measure, but then just come in with like a fat note and just like, yep, that's exactly what that riff's supposed to be. I was just leaving this
Yep,
air, just in like I'll kind of just be on the stage acting like a badass, even though I just fucked up.
yep. And that's how you do it. That's how you become a star.
Yeah. So that being said, it's just I think more now than ever the world has to realize how important art and creating is, not only just to consume it, because if you think about it, so many people have been stuck at home listening to albums and going over old movies and learning an instrument or starting to paint, and it's so part of the human experience to do some form of artistic expression.
Yeah.
And I just think it's healthy for anybody to do it somehow, whether it's just writing or playing or whatever. And yeah, you don't have to do it professionally. I'm lucky enough to be able to sell a fair amount of paintings and keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Music hasn't ever made me that much money, but I still do it because I love it. I love making albums and sitting in a little studio space and recording. Like, it just brings me joy. So I highly recommend it for anybody. Don't worry about how amazing you are or if people are going to like it, because as I've gotten better at instruments and painting, I care even less about what people think about it.
Oh yeah. Do it for you.
Yep.
And I I hope when all this when the pandemic winds down, which could happen sometime, hopefully, everybody gets out and gets back to the live music, and I'm sure everybody's missing it. So I'm kind of looking forward to a renaissance in live music. Hopefully, people will get out and go support local. There's I'm sure all your favorite touring artists will be out again as well, but go check out some
Yep.
local music. See what's going on.
That being said, I have one bit of advice for local bands.
What's that?
Don't play the same set list over and over and over again and expect people to come out. If
True.
you have a show like that's like bi-weekly or even God forbid weekly at the same place at the same venue, same bands are on the same bill and you're playing the same songs, doesn't matter how much I like you or like your songs, I'm not coming out every 2 weeks unless there's like food or something, like some other element. It's just, and it was amazing growing up in Logan how many
Yeah,
random bands would do that
I was gonna
when I
say
was a
if
teenager.
I feel like you're calling out the Logan a little bit. Not that you're wrong at all. I'm just saying that sounds very familiar. All the
But
You see a lot of
yeah,
the flyers look the same. I will say that, like, the same bands play with each other at the same places a lot of the time, which is fine. It's just like, that's I think that is why a lot of people don't go out. They're like, oh, that show again. Well, you know,
yeah.
got to mix
Well,
it
and I
up.
mean it's not even necessarily a reflection on their songs or their quality. It's just I remember a lot of musicians just being, "Why isn't anybody coming out? Nobody cares about music," and it's just like they care. They've just they've heard that one song you do way too much. Like,
Well, that I think
just do a
actually,
cover, do something different, have somebody guest on it, like something.
to a certain point, I feel like in some ways it's also people don't care or want to come out as much because the quality is somewhat declined as well in some cases. So I think people also need to, like, when they're going to have a show, or if, like, a place is hiring bands to come play, they need to actually really vet them and make sure they're good. People have been
True.
going for cheap, and so people don't care as much. So
Yeah, and I still think that $5 Thursday nights or something, like it's kind of an open mic, and then local, high school acts or something, like definitely still have those options that pop up
hmm
where it's just people trying out new stuff. But yeah, it's like there's going to be some events that these are people that have been doing this for years, and it's going to be cost a little more because it costs some money to get on that level as a musician.
yeah,
And
for sure. And that's the sad part.
yeah,
Just double, just going up to $10 will turn so many people away. Just because it's like a local band, even like they would pay 60, 70 to go see a big name at I don't know how much Red Rocks is. I'm guessing around there. That's how much Red Butte Gardens usually tickets are, if not more. So,
I think I was hanging around $100 or something for a Nine Inch Nails ticket.
oh man, yeah. So even a little more there. Yeah. See, and people will go for that, and no problem. I would myself. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying like you can go up a little bit on the bottom end too. There's a band
That's
in
true.
Logan I'm thinking of. The guys have been playing forever, like,
Yeah.
and they're they should be people should be glad to pay like $20 to go see them, but they don't even play where they charge a cover. Usually they're playing at like the bar in town or other like small events. But yeah,
Right.
they're totally worth the money, and yeah, it's a tough market here in Logan.
Well, that's true, and I think you know what I mean, but Logan needs to add that one incentive that really helps with live music, and that's being able to get a drink while you're watching the show. It really helps.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot of people are like paying $10, but I can get drinks in there and like, hey, how you doing, baby? Tickle, tickle. Like
and oh,
that's part of the fun of going to a show. So
there is a place now that you can get a drink, but it's the alcohol license where you can't stand up with your drink. So if you stand up with your drink, you get tossed out the front door. So it's like no fun,
where's that?
That's the new place called the Cash.
Oh, the cash. Right, right, right. I
So
still haven't been in there.
it's cool.
That
Apparently
got.
they're remodeling right now. But
I feel like they're always remodeling.
yeah, that's what
Every time I'm coming home to my hometown, which is Logan, Utah. Um, yeah, I always they're building that venue, and I always feel like we like go to the factory, which is right by it. It's a pizza joint, and there's always like we're moving this sign in and taking this thing down and remodel. Like okay, but
yeah,
I still haven't been in there for a show. That's just because when I visit, I'm there for like about a week and doing family stuff.
their shows are not often yet. They still have not got to the point where you can be like, let's go to the Cash. It'd be like, is there a show tonight? And you might have to do some digging to find out, and there probably isn't one. But
Yeah,
I hope someday they'll get to that point where you can kind of rely on it. But
when I was a teenager, there was the Blacklist. Do you remember that?
yeah, I know I never went, but I know of it. I've heard of it. I know where it was. I went
See
to it
that? Yeah.
later.
That had like a total industrial 90s vibe. It's like just in the back of like some giant truck parking area and just grimy. And if I remember correctly, some pretty big acts came through there. It might have been even a little bit before my time, but like Offspring
Yeah, yeah, I remember hearing of those bands coming through.
and
Saves the Day, I think, came through back
yeah, there
before they
was
got big.
punk bands. And I remember even once that one band, I gotta try to think of it off the top of my head because it's been a minute. It's not The Cure, obviously. Wow, why can't I think of it? Hopefully it'll come back to me, but it's like this really popular emo band.
Oh,
Kind of
not like Fallout Boy or Hawthorne Heights, one of those, or
it, yeah, but it's like a shorter name, and it's like a name like The Cure or The Hurting. Like I can't
Good
remember, but they
Charlotte.
played at like a community center in Smithfield, Utah.
Oh
The
man,
Used.
the used, yeah, yep,
That's
yep.
what it
I
was.
remember that. Yep. Oh, we had
But
Switchfoot. I remember that one growing up.
yeah. But
But
to go back to the Blacklist one, yeah, like there was definitely like some people doing some intravenous drugs and other such things when I was there, and for whatever it's
yeah,
worth, it wasn't tempting. It just kind of set the scene for the show. And I understand you can't have that stuff now, but I just remember being a teenager, seeing some punk shows. There was still a couple new metal bands. It was just like, wow, what is all this stuff? And kind of got into music, and then that place closed down. They kept trying to revive it under different names, but it was never quite the same. And then Y Sound opened, and like that's kind of where I played shows and interacted with other bands that were my age, that are probably our peer group.
Yeah. Wait,
And
now
yeah, that's my venue for Logan. I don't not totally sure how they are these days.
they're they were keeping up. You know, the pandemic has closed the venue portion mostly. They've been doing some outside shows, but the studio's been rolling. We were recording there, finished up our album. So yeah. What
Cool.
now? I was going to ask. Do you remember Club NVO, which also was another? Was that the Blacklist too? Like kind of their.
That's what the Blacklist turned into.
Yeah, yeah. So did you go to it much when it was Club NVO?
I went once when a band Stolen Babies came through.
Ah.
An awesome band. I wish they would make more stuff, but like they're kind of like that mid-range touring band. Like they'll hop on a gig with like Faith No More or Nine Inch Nails and be the opener kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
And they came through, and you could tell that they had like kind of booked this joint, but it was one of those venues where you show up and you're like, oh, okay.
Big time.
And they showed up and got on the stage, and maybe 15 people were there. And for me, I'm like, awesome! I got to be right up front and see these guys, and but at the same time, you're like, damn, I kind of feel bad for them because it's not a big crowd. And I just remember they're killing it, doing amazing song after amazing song, and then the dude who was running it like the smoke machine just kept blasting the singer in the face. So she's awesome. She has like this crazy screaming voice, and then it goes into angelic, kind of sing-songy, Tim Burton-y, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's playing the accordion while she does it.
Oh shit.
So she's doing all this multifaceted shit, and then this smoke machine's just, and she's like trying not to cough, but then she's also needing to do this kind of inhale screaming thing she does so she doesn't ruin her throat. And
Oh man.
yeah, I was just like, they're never coming here again. So I'm really
I
happy I'm here for it.
I feel like most bands felt that way.
Yeah.
You know, I was actually the part of the sound company that like ran the sound for a lot of their shows, and
Okay.
yeah, so had a lot of interesting times. Just bands coming through that just did exactly what you said. Like they just showed up and they were just looking at us as the sound company, like right out of high school, didn't
Yeah.
know, didn't really know what we were doing. They were just sitting there, just like, oh, what are we doing here? I remember one day, the Summer Slaughter tour was there, came through Logan, and it was held there, and I pulled up to
Who was
start.
on that tour?
Oh man, it was Necrophagist headlined that year. Decapitation, Cattle Decapitation, two separate bands. Who else was
Partial
there?
decapitation.
Yeah, so many
Kitten
bands.
decapitation.
It had
Not the
been,
kittens. The kittens doing things to a bird.
yeah, it's doing the decapitating.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so that I can't remember who else. I bet I could go look it up, but that those kind of bands, really heavy
Yeah.
metal. And so I pulled up in the truck to like start unloading the sound system, and there was already like a line of like 50 people, and I was like, "Oh, this is different than the other shows." Like
Yeah.
Supper Slaughter usually stops in Salt Lake. Somehow
Yeah.
they stopped at Club NVO. Like I don't know what the owner did to convince them. Uh,
Yeah. I
man.
don't. It always felt like there had to be some other sort of business thing going on because I don't understand. And they would draw big acts, and then it would be nothing for a long time. And yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe it's just the nature of that business.
it seems like it's
Yeah.
a common business for laundering cash. That's happened in
What?
a few other Utah venues recently. So it maybe something like
Next
that
thing
was
you're
going
gonna
on.
tell me the banana with the duct tape on it was sold for millions because of laundering or something.
Well, I'm not gonna say it wasn't.
Uh,
There's always money in the banana tape.
yeah, banana tape. While we're on the venues thing, I'm still barely getting used to feeling like I'm a citizen of Fort Collins. anytime you move somewhere that first year or so, you're like, I'm still like the new guy and checking stuff out.
Yeah.
But when I first came here, my first show in Fort Collins was at a place called Pinball Jones.
Love it.
And they have two locations. They have one that's like was this big wide open area and they could have shows and all this stuff. And the other one's a little bit of a tighter thing, and that's downtown. Anyway, the Pinball Jones 2, which was the venue for musicians and stuff, like they had
Mhm.
to close down, which is like a giant bummer because with this Gamma Pop project I'm working on with our buddy Shockey, uh, we had seen Spliff Tank there, which is a good local band here,
Mhm.
and that was my first show. And I was like, Pinball Jones, this is the spot I want to do our first gig when we're ready. And we were like emailing the guy and getting ready, and then squibbly do, COVID happens and shit.
Damn.
So now we gotta decide what's the spot to try to play our first Gamma Pa show. And yeah, it's sad. Just a lot of venues that are really cool. They just can't keep up at the moment, which, like you were saying earlier, I definitely hope there's a renaissance where it really comes back strong. Hopefully they can reopen some of these spots.
Yeah, for real. I I've heard of so many venues closing down. It's a bummer. So
Mm-hmm.
that actually kind of ties into something that I wanted to mention though.
Okay.
So a lot of aquariums have been struggling as well, but there's a there's this one aquarium, a North Carolina aquarium, that just decided to clean out their wishing well. 100 gallons of coins they pulled out of their like waterfall wishing well, and so that's gonna keep the aquarium open for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So nice. I thought that was funny.
They're
That's a
stealing
good way to.
all those wishes.
Yeah, they're cashing in all your wishes, and yep.
That
But
sounds like something Trump would do.
yeah, well,
I'm gonna take all the coins from
all your dreams.
all the fountains and I'm gonna spend your dreams.
But at least it's for a good cause.
No, that's
Because
true.
if I bet
I
all those people, if they could have wished that the aquarium would stay open, that would have been their wish.
yeah. Apparently making viral videos of puppies wandering around the aquarium looking like wasn't enough to keep it open.
Oh yeah,
We
I
see a
didn't even
bunch of
see one.
those.
That would have worked on
Oh,
me.
it was a fad right near the beginning where they would find like we let the penguins tour the aquarium today,
Oh yeah,
and then the penguins are just walking around going to the different exhibits. And it was
yeah,
like, oh, but yeah, I'm not donating anything to you. I got groceries to get.
yeah. That's the real problem. It's time to cash in the wishing wells. That's the only way. Nobody got money. Nobody'd be making a wish right now. There's a coin shortage. We gotta save them.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah. How's your general apocalypse going? I mean,
well,
anything else going on in your world along those lines?
nothing for me personally. I'm still just keeping along. It's been about the same through most of the pandemic, really. Just doing a lot of sitting at home.
There's a awesome Greg Giraldo bit that I always think of in times like these, where it was during the Great Recession in 2008,
Yeah.
and he's talking about all his buddies calling him up, and it's like, dude, did you get hammered during the recession? Like, you doing okay? Like, what happened to your money? Where did you invest and all this stuff? And he's just like, actually, I have the exact same amount of money that I had before all this stuff went down. Apparently, investing in hookers and cocaine wasn't such a bad policy after all.
uh, yeah, it's just saying about the same for real. I'm not
Yeah,
making any, but I'm not spending any. So
not the hookers or cocaine part, but just saying we're
yeah,
only making so much money here.
exactly. It's never been great.
And I feel like it's always been like a steady growth. Like if I look at where I'm at now compared to where I was 10 years ago. I'm like, wow, I'm actually getting a lot done with these artistic dreams and pursuits. And yeah, but it's still a struggle to get by, just like everybody else, I suppose.
Yeah, well, the unfortunate thing is last year I did like really good, and so, but by the time, I got my all my taxes all worked out for last year, it was in the middle of COVID, and I was like, you know, just I don't know if you can let the government know now, but next year is not going to be this good. Like already, I can just tell you, it's going to be a big drop back down. So hopefully
Yeah,
it hopefully it comes back.
absolutely. Well, just so long as Joe Biden, doesn't win, because if he wins, we're not safe. We got to remember that.
Yeah, because if he wins, it'll be like it is now.
Yeah.
So that's
And
bad.
imagine he just lets the post office run wild,
Yeah.
sending you parcels like they're supposed to.
You know what else? Donald Trump let us know today or the other day that he did not enact a national mask ban. Joe Biden did not do that, so it's his fault that he didn't enact a mask ban, even though he does not currently hold political office. Am I correct?
Well, he's our president in the shadows. We all know the shadow people.
Oh, it's one of those. So because
Yeah,
the shadow president did not enact a mask ban, it's his fault.
right. Even though the mask ban is exactly what the deep state wants.
Yeah,
Because they want you to wear the mask so they can control us like the sheeple we are to get the 5G towers up to
to
make sure
active.
that our adrenochrome in our spines is cooked to the right temperature in order to extract, in order
Yeah,
to keep Hollywood looking good.
they're gonna activate the chips they hid in the vaccines with the 5G to have us report
Uh-huh.
to the adrenochrome uh, removing centers. And yep,
Yeah. Thank God we got that double agent Trump in there,
yeah.
Drain the swamp, baby.
Wait, is he just filling it up so he can drain it all? Because that seems like he's just filling it up.
Dude, he's
Is this part
playing
of the plan?
4D chess, man. Like the moves he's making, like we couldn't even
He doesn't
understand.
even know what he's
That's how
doing.
good he is. I literally was reading some tweets that were a response to something he posted, and like, you don't understand, he's playing 4D chess. And I can't imagine, like, what it would require to, like, look at the way he operates and behaves and talks and just being like, wow, he looks like such an ass right now. That's amazing how complex he is. Like, it's a genius. Like, he seems like such an ass, but he's getting so much done. Like,
uh,
so I don't know, man. I will reiterate once again. I feel like I always have to do this. It's not a conservative liberal thing to me,
no, he
because
was a
there's plenty of
jackass
like
before all that.
specific liberal democratic things that annoy me specifically because they're kind of a little too liberally or a little too much like what Democrats always do. Like, believe me, I get annoyed about that stuff. And there's some regular just down home conservative stuff that annoys me too. But Trump, why he sucks so much ass is he just flirts with authoritarianism far too much.
Oh yeah,
And I guarantee you, if Bill Clinton or Obama did even an inkling of the amount of authoritarian flirting he does,
oh yeah. Oh, they would
people would be
flip
losing their minds.
big time.
But, they're like, well, he did. And they're like, well, all right then. We're doing that whataboutism thing where you just, well, what about the thing that Hillary did that's exactly the same? Okay, where's the source? Well, you do your own research.
Exactly. Ah, yep, that's the one. Or one
Which,
I saw today was like, why would you vote Biden? Like give me all these specific reasons on these questions, like how you can feel good about voting for Biden. I'm like, well, just answer all those about Trump. You can't.
yeah. Well, and I gladly suggest, if you disagree with us on this, write us at fakoshka@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to respond to you and try to talk it out on the air, not with you in person, but we'll bring up your email and discuss it honestly.
Yeah,
But
we do know the
that being
difference
said,
between facts and opinions, though, so get ready for
sure.
that. There is a difference.
Well, and the thing I was thinking about last night is how there's this big question about it's like, do Trump supporters actually believe the stuff that they're arguing? And I don't think they do. I
Nope.
think it's all it is that whataboutism. It's a word that's been popping up a lot lately, and it is something I'll need to look up actually because it's a tactic that was used in communist Russia, and it has another terminology,
Yeah.
and I'll look that up. But what I've noticed is that's the immediate knee jerk thing to do. So if Trump does something wrong, like, well, what about when Hillary did this, blah, 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 blah. And
Hillary
all
has.
it does is it's meant to muddy the waters. They don't even really care about whether Hillary actually did that thing or not. They just care about making sure we get off the point of criticizing Trump about it.
Yeah, that's
And
kind of
it's
the.
this gaslighting about, like, where are your facts? Where are your sources? They know that basically people that are anti Trump are going to want that and freak out about it. And so it's like there's a meme that would go around where it's like when you're playing, we'll go back to a chess reference, oddly enough. It's like when you're playing chess with a pigeon, just remember that you're playing with a pigeon because eventually there's going to be a point when he gets up, struts on the board, knocks over the pieces, and takes a shit.
Yep.
I'm paraphrasing, but it's not about proving their points or sharing a thought or philosophy within the marketplace of ideas. It's about winning and owning libs and making
Exactly.
sure that America doesn't get taken over by all these scary new things like socialism and people that aren't white and grew up in the middle of the country.
Yeah, it's a, and I feel like we've just been more programmed to do that by, I don't know, I feel like it's probably each media side, both sides are trying to get people to click on their stories, listen to read their paper, whatever you want to, however you get your media. And they just keep hyperbolizing everything and just getting crazier and crazier. So it's like, they want to do this, they want to take your guns, and they want to do this. And yeah, it's just gotten so crazy.
And
Nobody is actually even thinking about what it actually means. It's just become, I'm on this side, so I have to think this way about this.
well, and therein lies the issue for me is this all comes down to the American people. The news media is going to do what the news media always does. They're going to provide what sells and what keeps eyeballs on their networks.
Yep.
So both liberals and conservatives could be better about fact checking and being more informed and doing their own research. So when they get on and watch TV to get updated on things that are happening, they're like, "Oh wow, this is all wrong, or this is a propaganda fluff piece. I'm going to turn it off." And turn it off. Like, don't put an angry react to the article because that's just as beneficial as a like or a read or anything. Like,
Yeah.
you're helping them spread that stuff around, and I'm guilty of it. Like, I see an article with some new thing, the algorithm on my social media and all this stuff knows how to post stuff that will get me angry, and you feel like you need to participate. So you're like, oh, well, angry react just to show that you're on one side of this, and that's how they get you. But
Yep.
for me, it comes back down to the American people. I always hear it's the media's fault, it's the politicians' fault, it's business's fault. It's like it starts with the people. People need to
It's
be
true.
better about how they take in their information and how they scrutinize it and realize that you're never going to have all the answers and it isn't cut and dry. It isn't black versus white or red versus blue. Like we really are in this together. And you got to learn how to scrutinize and consider new concepts.
Yeah, I feel like if everybody actually sat down and be like, what do you want your day to day life as an American to be? We'd probably be like, okay, yeah, I want you to have that. And I'm pretty sure the other person would be like, yeah, you can do that over at your place. Cool. We're good.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and imagine if we just made it like some kind of national event or holiday, it would be almost impossible. But it's like we're going to take this month to analyze ourselves and how we could be better.
man,
Liberals are going to go over here and we're going to criticize ourselves and figure out how we could be better liberals. And then conservatives are going to go over to their side and be like, man, how could we be better people, better conservatives? They'll never do that.
nope. Yeah, I don't think the far of either side would.
Yeah, and that's kind of a thing. Like when you go through news articles, like even personal anecdotal stories, like it's always somebody else or some institution or thing doing something to me. What's happening to me? What are they doing to me? They don't understand what I've seen. They don't understand all the stuff I've suffered. They don't understand all that. It's a little bit of a victim culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't tell you the last time I saw somebody's like, wow, I really screwed up, and I could be a lot better about this, and I'm gonna try to be better about this, and I got a lot of growing and learning to do.
Yeah,
Like,
nope. Never
when
seen
do you
that.
ever see that on social media? Like,
I think
ever?
I've had one friend do that in the last like 5 years.
Yeah,
And he didn't even do anything really.
yeah. Well, and
uh,
that's what's funny. The people that are more likely to do that are going to be people that are like, I'll just keep it to myself. I probably won't put that up for everybody to read. And it's
yep.
like, well, you should run for office, or you should get involved in politics, or the local happenings of our township. And they're like, no, just I think I'll keep to myself.
The people we need as politicians don't want to be a politician.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there are many amazing conservative people I know that would be great leaders, and we absolutely do not agree on a lot of stuff. But it boils down to they do want what's best for their community and for their country, and they would care, and they'd listen
Mm-hmm.
to you. They truly would. And just that type of person, I think more often than not, just doesn't want to deal with the vitriol and the anger that comes along with running for office. And
Oh yeah, they'll look up every single thing you ever did.
yeah, and that is, you know how I react to both sides do it. I tend to be, it's apples and oranges, you know. They're a little, they're similar, but they are very different. But I think in this case, when it comes to running for office, the amount of vitriol that comes your way, that is definitely a both sides issue. Where I think
Mm-hmm.
both sides could be nicer. That being said,
Big,
how do you get back from that if one side is Donald Trump? I don't know. It's hard to let him do his thing and
I,
not want
I
to take the gloves off, but
I do not think we have been as mean to Donald Trump as conservatives have been to AOC. So I
yeah.
think more terrible things have been said about her personally. That's the thing. No one like Donald Trump is mostly just criticized for all the lies he spouts, which he continues to spout lies. So
Yeah. I found the term for the whataboutism.
ah,
I'm probably gonna slaughter the pronunciation, but it's tu quoque, Tuquoque.
mm,
In Latin, it's for you also. It's a logical fallacy. It's the appeal to hypocrisy.
okay.
It's an informal fallacy that intends to discredit the opponent's argument by attacking the opponent's own personal behavior as being inconsistent with the argument's conclusion. So essentially, we are just going to. Your argument doesn't mean anything because you're being hypocritical because your side does this thing, but it completely ignores, well, is your side doing this thing or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, it's a personalized red herring.
I'll break it down even further. The tu quoque argument follows the pattern. Person A makes claim X. Person B asserts that A's actions are past claims are inconsistent with the truth of claim X. Therefore, X is false. Hopefully that
Yeah,
makes sense for
yeah,
people.
yep. That's happening big time.
Often used as a red herring tactic and is a special case of the ad hominem fallacy. That's one I've heard a lot more, ad hominem.
Yeah, that's so many. Yeah, I see the the ref making the calls. That's always ad hominem
Uh,
attack. You know.
that was my favorite little packet of memes ever.
Yep.
Is the referee with all the logical fallacies and argument.
Yep, that's a good one.
Everybody should read those and like weekly. Like I
Indeed.
would read that like the Bible.
Yep, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
So we had a good run on Trump this week, I guess. The
yeah,
election's getting closer. We're maybe getting a little wound up about it. Hopefully, the last I'll say is I really can't stand how he flirts with, we'll maybe negotiate a third term. I'm like, absolutely not. And
mm-hmm.
I have a conservative buddy out here in Fort Collins who assures me, he's like, no, dude, true conservatives would never allow him to have a third term. If he tried to have a third term, we'd rise up against him and tell him no and get him out of there. And I'm like, that would go a long way to ease a lot of people's minds if more people like you came out and said that. Because there's a difference between we have 4 more years of Trump if he happens to win. Like, well, this is going to suck for me, but it's going to be over in 4 years and we go from there. As opposed to this constant, like, I might just stick around. It's just like, I can't have that. And it is a fear that people that support him are way too comfortable with that kind of language and that kind of suggestion.
Yeah,
So I would hope that all my conservative buddies that if Trump wins, do what you can to help people feel like, look, he won his second term, but it's going to be done at the end of the second term. And then maybe Ivanka runs, and then you have to take it, whatever it's going to be, 2024. Who are the
not a Trump
candidates?
Kanye ticket. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah. So I'm trying to not be hyperbolic about the idea of Trump winning again. It's definitely a possibility. And I'm not saying it like he rigged it. I'm just saying he could win again. Because there is a lot of people that like him and follow him despite all the stuff. And I think both sides could be better about not being too hyperbolic. It's just like, all I hope is if he wins, that the Senate flips. And so the House and the Senate are both ran by Democrats. So he
Yeah,
knows that if he screws up, he could get actually impeached and removed.
yeah,
So maybe he'd adjust his behavior just a little bit. Maybe.
that'd be
I don't know.
nice.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, that's all you can do at this point.
Yeah, but definitely a little nervous
Yeah,
about what's going to happen from election day up until inauguration, if kind of one way or the other, a little bit. But yeah.
yeah.
Anyways,
Well, what do you think about getting onto some music news?
sure.
I got a few little articles, but two of them are sad. One of them's good news. But I mean, they're not too sad. Just let's see. First one, Frederick Toots Hibbert,
Yeah.
lead singer and songwriter of Toots and the Maytals, died of COVID. Apparently, I guess that's
Oh,
not
it was
completely
COVID?
confirmed. It said the cause of
Wow.
death was not revealed, but his Facebook account confirmed that Hibbert was tested for coronavirus within the last 2 weeks and placed in intensive care. So it doesn't say
Man.
specifically, but probably.
Wow. I just pulled it up on Wikipedia, and yeah, that's what they're saying there. I mean, I know that's not the end all be all, but
Yeah, but
I
yeah,
heard he passed away, and that was really sad. I did not hear that additional bit of information.
it's taken so many good artists, and all in work, getting up there in age, but it was still COVID that took them. It sucks.
Wasn't there a bunch of jazz musicians too?
Oh yeah, tons of jazz musicians the last couple of weeks.
That's
So
super sad.
I didn't really wasn't gonna bring them up because they're not as well known, but I know Toots and the Maytals. They've got some big hits. Do the
Oh,
reggae
I
Pressure Drop. I love Pressure Drop.
yeah.
That's a good song.
Reggae is one of my favorite genres. Like
Hmm.
I love it. I'll be completely forward and say that I did the stereotypical thing one of the first times I smoked weed. A friend put on Bob Marley and they put on Exodus, the track Exodus, and it's like 12 minutes long or whatever. But I was like smoking, it was one of those situations where it feels like it was 2 hours. And
Yep.
you're just like, wow. So ever since then, I just love reggae music and uh, Toots and the Mytals. They got like some ska-ish type elements and other things going on. And when Toots passed away, the day he did, I just had it playing throughout the house all day, and just in honor of him.
Yeah.
Just yeah, he did so many like awesome covers of songs, and just he's great.
Yeah. There's also another sad death. Ronald Bell, songwriter, co-founder, saxophonist, vocalist, and producer from Kool and the Gang, died as well.
Damn.
So let's see: Jungle Boogie, Ladies' Night, Too Hot, Celebration, good times.
Yeah,
So
man, rest in peace.
yep, those two funky slash reggae dudes.
Yeah, two genres I love.
Hmm. Bummer.
What was the complication of that one?
It doesn't say. It said the no no cause has been provided.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you can wonder.
Um, if you haven't, go give those bands a listen. It might not readily be your favorite genre of music, but I think you should try out every genre as best you can. Even the ones you know you don't like, try to revisit them every now and again,
You'd be
just to
surprised.
just to just to see. Like, yeah, you sometimes you come around, and
And pay them a little respect, and try it out.
yeah, yeah. Whether you love that type of music or not, definitely pay some respects because they're great musicians that have inspired tons of musicians. Probably a lot of the ones you listen to.
I think if you don't get down to Jungle Boogie, you might want to go to an audiologist because there's probably like earwax like stuck in your ears or something, or
Yeah,
something's wrong. You've got a vitamin deficiency. Like, that's a jam. You should love that song no matter what. I don't know how you could.
that song is like metal to me, man. When I was a kid, I was like on my bed just jumping up and down, banging my head like "Bronco Boogie, boom, boom."
Oh
It's
yeah.
just, I was like, yes,
I just started dancing when you just started singing it. Like, it's just that's a groove.
that bass line. That's one of the earliest ones I tried to learn. Like just
Oh yeah.
so funky.
Oh yeah. Well,
Anyway,
we're sorry those two have passed on. Thanks for the music. But we have some good
rest in
news.
peace.
Gorillas are going to do a virtual performance on December 12th and 13th. First performance in 2 years. So
Ah,
that'd be cool.
yeah, I saw them live up in Seattle. That's definitely one of my favorite concerts I've been to in a long time.
Oh, that's awesome.
They had all kinds of people up on the stage with them, and the cohesiveness of the sound and the balancing and all that was incredible for how much they had going on.
Oh, yeah. I'll bet they got a really, I bet they just got a sound guy that tours with them that's just killer.
Yeah,
I love a good
and
sound guy.
yep, and like Gorillaz has always been a band I love, but they're kind of like either throw it on in the car while you're driving around, or you throw it on and you're kind of dancing around your house, like cleaning the kitchen or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's always kind of been a little backgroundy to me, but when you're there live, it's like it's amazing how just engaging it is. It really sucks you in.
Nice. I'd hope to see them someday. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. I definitely take inspiration from that guy. I like his ownership of his voice. He has such a unique way of singing, and I don't think anybody would accuse him of being an incredible singer, but kind of what I like about him is that you hear his voice and you're like, that's that guy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just got a cool vibe to it. And I don't know, this connection might not make a lot of sense to people, but it's kind of like Jimi Hendrix. It's like you hear Jimi Hendrix's voice, you don't necessarily think about him as a singer, but you hear his voice and you're like, ah, Jimmy. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of what I try to aspire to as a singer in different groups that I'm in. I don't think I'm ever going to be hitting crazy wild notes like some singers, but
Oh no, I don't.
definitely want to come on a record and be like, "Yep, that's my boy."
I think that's even, you know, in a way, cooler. That there's a lot of singers that have been like that. Like Donald Fagen from Steely Dan is not a fantastic singer, but I love his voice.
Yeah,
And a lot of the
definitely.
people I listen to are like that. A lot of other people listen to singers I like, and they're like, "Ugh, I've showed you a few bands that you've been done that." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
know, it's weird, but I like it. I like the weirdness of it.
for sure.
So it just happens. Uh,
Definitely.
well, should we get to some? I got one weird news story for you.
Yeah, let's do some weird news and call it a day.
Okay, so this is a local one. I don't know. Maybe this isn't as weird, but I've never heard of it. I thought it was weird. So I don't know if you heard, we got a new landfill here in Logan.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
moving on up in the world.
our old one's getting full, so we got a new one, but it's way up north of town. It's right on the border with Idaho. So
Okay.
apparently, since they've opened the landfill, um, 6 tons of garbage have blown into Idaho. So they're hiring a guy to just sit there and watch it. Just like watch for garbage blowing away and go chase it and grab it and like make sure the fences that are supposed to catch it are like working properly. So that's his the whole job is just chasing garbage and keeping it out of Idaho, keeping all Logan's trash in Utah.
Dude, how do I apply?
I know, right? I'm like that. That sounds like a pretty
Garbage
fun job.
chaser?
Yeah. It's like get back here.
See, that's what's great is a lot of it should sit still.
Yeah.
I would think.
I I don't know what kind of you think like the truck like crunches it all down, it'd be kind of all packed together, not blow away, but maybe it does. I'm
That does.
there's a lot of these people hanging out at the local bars that have a lot of experience in chasing garbage. Maybe they could go down there to look for a new employee.
To just go to Mulligan's.
Yeah.
That's
Ooh.
that's that's their slogan, right?
uh, if I
I
recall,
kid, Mulligan's. I used to be your doorman. I like you, kind of.
we got to poke a little fun now and then.
Yeah. But that is what's weird. That does seem like a Logan thing to do is just dump all the garbage and be like, well, there it is. And then like, you didn't try to like compact it or like put it down or maybe if a storm's coming, put like a tarp on a certain area or no.
That's just like a bunch of just open paper. Of course, that's gonna blow
Well,
away.
I guess we could get a garbage guy.
Let's just
Chase
like
it
hire
around.
a guy to just sit there and sit there on the border and just watch it. That
Yeah.
seems like the Logan way. So,
Well,
well,
there was one dude at that bar where I used to work. He'd be a perfect garbage chaser. Just tell
uh,
him all the garbage is like a student up at USU who just barely got there, and he'll go chase after it.
I'm coming for you.
And creep.
They don't know my my story yet. They
I
don't
don't
know the
understand.
reputation.
I'm a professional, okay?
uh,
All right.
nice.
Well, we do have a special episode coming up. I'm not totally sure when we are recording that, so it'll pop up when it pops up. It'll just be episode 5 or 6 whenever we fit it in. It's not like we're gonna give it some special title, but we're gonna have our guest Neil on, and he's gonna be introducing a fun new segment for our show, which I think will be a lot of fun for you guys. Once again,
Indeed.
if you want to write us, fakoshka at gmail.com. That's FAKOSHKA at gmail.com. And like and subscribe and review our podcast. That helps it spread around and get bigger and thus more interesting.
Yeah, tell your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
Don't. Yeah.
quick last little shameless self promotion. This week was the anniversary of our EP with Fakoshka, the
Right.
band.
Yeah.
When Black Holes Feast on Screaming Stars. So you can go give that a listen as well this week too. I already
Yeah.
forgot how old it is.
Is it 5 years?
I think 5 years. Yep.
5 year anniversary.
So
Tiny little background on that EP. I was living in Seattle, and we had some of those songs that were already mostly written uh, before I had left to go live in China in 2013. So I lived in China for a year, then came back to Seattle, was living there for about a year or so. So we planned a visit for me to come down. We'd rehearse these songs that were like based on mythical creatures. So there's Basilisk, Minotaur, and Chupacabra. And then just to pad it out, we did 2 covers. We did a really spastic, crazy one of Ace of Spades that like I couldn't even memorize the lyrics in time, which I feel like fits the nature of it. And you have your metal banjo on it.
yeah.
And then there's Mary Hopkins cover of Those Were the Days. And so I flew into town, we rehearsed, we recorded it with our good buddy Tim Mose at Y Sound. He's not at Y Sound anymore. But he recorded our takes live. I think we ran through each song like twice.
Yep.
And that's the EP. It's us live rocking it, and we just picked the best stuff.
You
Yeah.
could even hear at the end of the songs. You say, Minotaur 2. We'd numbered them.
That was Minotaur 1, number 2,
Yep.
1,
So
2.
you can hear which take we kept.
That's
So,
true. It's just become so much a part of the song that I'm like, it's just part of it. But I actually haven't thought about it. It's like, oh yeah, that was take 2.
Yep.
I believe you came in later after I went back up to Seattle and did some overdubs on the last track.
Yeah. We did quite a few. You can, and I think Tim just let it record. You can like hear us like talking at certain parts just faintly in the background. We're just sitting there talking around the
Yeah.
microphone, waiting for the chorus to come around.
Yeah.
Hear a
So
beer crack.
yeah, I definitely love that EP, and it's a raw, funky, nasty little number, as I like to think of it.
Yeah.
And we got kind of a real loosey goosey skeleton for another Fakoshka record. It's just a matter of finding time to refine it and record it. So
Yep.
hopefully that's in the future, and it'll be sooner rather than later.
Indeed. Hope so.
All right. Well, it's been lovely chatting with you again, and I'm enjoying this new mic, and we will see you on the next episode of The Jacob Wayne Show.
Indeed. Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.